welcome back, Press Play. Today we're having a debate between TF2 and Overwatch 2. I'll let the TF2 boys introduce themselves first.
Hi, I'm Justin. I've been playing Team Fortress 2 since December of 2015.
Hi, I'm Hunter. I've played TF2 around about 8 hours because my friend made me download it.
And now bringing it over to the Overwatch 2 boys.
Hello, I am Overwatch Boy 1, Donovan, and I've been playing Overwatch since release day.
Hi, I'm Overwatch Boy 2, Billy, and I haven't been playing since release day, but I've been playing for a pretty long time, since early 2016.
Alright, and with that being said, opening statements, we're going to start with the TF2 boys and begin.
Okay, so I have about 2 minutes, so I'm gonna make this brief. Overwatch is a game that is just sort of falling apart at the seams way faster than I think anyone ever expected it to. Your player base is fractured. The company that made the game is practically a walking HR violation. And I'm gonna be honest, as much as TF2 has its flaws, I feel like in some ways it's in a far more playable state than Overwatch has been for a very long time. Team Fortress 2 is a very old game, but it's a game that stood the test of time. I think compared to most of its contemporaries, it's really shown that it shines above the competition and that it will, you know, not only has it lasted this long, but it will last a lot longer. You know, as much as it can have, you know, issues with getting updated and the like, its player base is still so committed to it and so, you know, consistently enthusiastic. I've never found a game that's had a more enjoyable player base to interact with. And the gameplay itself is just so perfect to hook in new people. I mean, my partner here, he's only played it because his friends have introduced him to it. The game spreads by word of mouth so often now because it's just still good. It doesn't need a marketing team or ads or fancy, you know, fancy CG or anything else. It's just a good game, and it's a type of game that you don't see made as often nowadays.
1 minute remaining. Hunter, do you want to say anything?
I don't think I have anything to add. My partner here, he summed it up all pretty well. The only thing I will say that back when it did come out, it had a great marketing campaign. Even if Overwatch had the same, it had a pretty good marketing campaign too, but I feel like it never did reach the heights that TF2 did with its marketing campaign.
All right, let's throw it over to what the Overwatch boys have to say about that.
So Overwatch, I'm gonna be honest, I think it has its flaws. I'm gonna be honest about that. Now, TF2 though, I think it has far more flaws with how it is. I think generally the gameplay loop doesn't hook me at all. I played TF2 for full disclosure, I played both games. I think the gameplay loop of TF2 is much more mindless and I much more enjoy the team gameplay aspect of Overwatch that it has. And now we'll get to Overwatch 2 in a little bit, but I think Overwatch 1 was a shining example of how a good hero shooter should work in like a team v team type of situation. I think TF2 just has too many characters for an individual player to feel like they're making a difference. And also I feel like generally it's just that the gameplay loop isn't that fun and you don't feel like you're being rewarded that much for what you're doing.
I guess something to add to that is that, like, I'll bring up Overwatch 1 for a second. Full disclosure too, I played both games. Obviously I played Overwatch more than I played TF2, but I played TF2 for a good bit. When it comes up, I want to bring up the thing Billy was talking about the characters and stuff like that. I think what kind of like hooks people into Overwatch is like the big cast of characters into it, because like a lot of them, because TF2 also does this right. Like they have, all characters have their own personality. All of them are so different from each other. Like it's a great experience with both characters. But with Overwatch, I feel like there's more options to go around with it. That like, if like, obviously if people don't like one character, there's always another character they can fall back on. So I feel like there's a little bit more of variety in the gameplay, and also different types of, and more variety in modes compared to like TF2 and stuff like that. And I feel like the marketing for it was also pretty good, especially whenever like new characters kept being released on it. It kept expanding more and more into the story, and people were getting like more and more actively excited about it. and we'll talk a little bit more about Overwatch 2 and later down the line.
You cut me off before I can cut you off. And we're gonna open up the floor for a few minutes, and you guys can just go at it. It's simple.
Do you guys want to go first since we just ended our segment?
Sure. I feel like Overwatch is a game. It's a casual game that's been forced into the shape of a competitive game.
How so?
I mean, the 6v6 and now 5v5, player numbers, I can see why people would like it and why some people might enjoy it, but like, it puts too much pressure on the individual player to perform at their max capacity. If you die, you feel like you're failing your whole team. I mean, if you've got 12v12, not only does that open up room for more players to enter a match, which I know Overwatch 2 has had some problems with in the past, it also just works better for getting everyone involved in a way that you don't need to worry about contributing at max capacity. Like, you've always got people who have your back. And I mean, what is a team but people who can pick you up when you've fallen down?
That's an interesting statement because you said that it doesn't feel like a game it feels like a casual game that's been molded into a competitive game. You say how the game almost encourages you to play at your max capacity, which I feel like more is geared towards the competitive side of the community. Now, I think it's a valid statement to say that Overwatch is generally more competitive. I mean, like, solo queue's a mess because it's just like, it's a lot harder to individually work together with a team and find a team that works well for you. But I think that's a valid niche that it should occupy. Now, I think TF2 has its own niche. I think it's a good casual game in that respect, but I don't know about competitively.
I have over 1,300 hours in Team Fortress 2, and most of those hours have been spent solo queuing. That's one thing that I think really shows how much TF2 shines, is that, the community and the way the game is geared is such that you don't need to be with a group of friends. The game is better with friends, but you don't need to be with a group of friends to truly enjoy it. Also, I feel like in some ways, Overwatch is terrified of of having something that isn't competitively viable. When's the last time Overwatch got like proper new maps? Like, Team Fortress 2 gets new maps with almost every seasonal update.
You mean not counting Overwatch 2, correct?
Not really counting Overwatch 2. I mean, Overwatch 2 is of course going to have new content just because it is a new game. They're going to include some new stuff to draw more people in, but honestly, Overwatch wasn't getting new maps by the end of its life cycle, and I think that isn't just because they were dedicating things to Overwatch 2. It's also just, why would you make a map that isn't competitively viable, that doesn't work out, and all this kind of stuff, whereas Team Fortress 2 isn't scared to be experimental and weird.
I mean, okay, so they had a lot more maps that weren't competitively engineered. There were a lot of ones that were for casual, more simple game modes like 3v3s and stuff like that. They had a bunch of different maps that they were making and putting in.
I will say, with every single new mode that they introduced into it, they introduced not only could you play them with the regular maps on it, but they also introduced a bunch of brand new maps on it. And I can also make the argument that a majority, because I played over like 500 hours of Overwatch, and I can make the argument of a majority of those maps aren't really competitively viable. More of them are like more for like just the competitive crowd with it, with how many, because there's a lot of just like straight line, like, you kind of just like go from point A to point B. There's not really a lot of ways, like there's ways to flank obviously, but not like really for like a competitive like standpoint about it. And also I kind of want to go back to like your thing, the whole argument we had about like Overwatch not being like more for competitive, and then TF2 is more of like casual. I believe that on that, but like one thing that kind of stuck out to me is like if you're not playing on top level. I mean, to be fair, both games are like for the newbie, honestly. Like both games are like very player friendly onto it. But like, I believe that like, since like it's Overwatch 2, I should bring up Overwatch 2 into this, or like Overwatch. a lot of people have been playing the game for multiple hours, and so has TF2. I'll bring this up because I played TF2 very late into his thing, but every single time I played as a newbie, I felt like I was getting very overwhelmed with the new going against other people on it, because there was so many people that were just that were 10 times better, doing this stuff. But I feel like the argument there could be for both games could be well, obviously the whole thing is that if you play against something better, then you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
have a better
stop you
chance.
there. That was 5 minutes of you guys just going at it with each other. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds each to say any closing arguments that really matter, and then I'm gonna open up the floor again. You guys can argue for another 3 minutes.
There's just so many different issues that are all plaguing Overwatch from different angles, and I think, in some ways it's just kind of hard to address all of them. Not only is the gameplay an issue, but also the game's design has gotten more and more predatory as time goes on.
Overwatch, what do you have to say?
All right. I want to say something that is one of my biggest concerns when I'm picking between each game. I think Overwatch just has so much of a better style and aesthetic look to it, and as well as a better feel. I think it actually just feels better. It's more of a movement shooter and less of an old clunky shooter.
With those arguments being said, I am gonna open up the floor again for another 2 to 3 minutes, so you guys can argue on those. And this time we're gonna start with the Overwatch boys. So,
Go ahead.
I strongly disagree with both of the things Billy said there. Not only do I feel as though Team Fortress 2 has an incredibly strong visual style that has helped it outlive its contemporaries. I mean, think of other games that came out in 2007. How many of them hold up visually? Team Fortress 2 still looks good.
Are we talking about first-person shooters, or are we just talking about games in general? 'Cause
I mean, partially first-person shooters.
I'm about to say, you should probably say that before, because I probably could name a couple games that
Yeah.
I'll get to.
I think it's valid to say that it's the building block of other games, and I respect it for that. And I think it's a huge accomplishment in video games in general, outside of this argument. However, I think just because it's the building block of it doesn't mean that it's generally just better. I think I pay my respects to it, but I don't enjoy it for that reason.
I'm going to say, Overwatch still has a player base. It still has a very vocal player base onto it. And it's gotten a little worse over the years, I can say. But I feel it's getting better and better on into it. Not as many talking people and stuff like that. I feel it's getting a lot bit of a more better player base, and I think people are, and because Blizzard is actually trying to make an effort to reach out to everybody, being
all right, that's all the time we have for tonight with our cute little TF2 Overwatch 2 debate, if you can call it cute. I've been Meg. I've been your moderator throughout this entire adventure. We're gonna have everyone do an outro, if they so choose. Obviously, we're gonna start with TF2.
So sort of a closing argument?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think in conclusion, Team Fortress 2 is a game that doesn't need to sell you the idea that it'll last a long time. It just needs to show you that it has. It's been in the top 10 of Steam's most played games. It's been in the top 10 of Steam's most played games for basically its entire life. I mean, if you're really looking for a good free game, I don't see a better place to look.
Now to the Overwatch boys.
I think Overwatch, in conclusion, I feel Overwatch has, honestly, it's been getting better and better through the years onto it. It's a little rough transferring through Overwatch 1 and 2, but the game is still there. I think the spirit is still there for it. And it's just gonna get better and better as time goes by with everything that's gonna happen. Well, time will tell. But I believe that it's looking good so far. I think the company's making the right steps to making a very tremendous sequel.
All right, you've heard their arguments. Who do you side with? Scream it at your screen right now. We can hear you, I promise.
I can hear you.
That's a great answer. Thank you for watching First Play tonight. Depending on when this segment is placed in the episode, I'm sure we might have some more content coming up, we might not. I don't know. It's a gamble. See you next time.
Hey, yeah!